everybody. Thanks so much. So as you all know, yesterday, State Superintendent Karen Salmon announced that all Maryland public schools will remain closed for the next 4 weeks through April 24th. We had anticipated the likelihood of school closure beyond the initial 2-week period, and our staff, many of whom have worked throughout this week, which was officially our spring break. They really have been working around the clock to prepare for this contingency. I want to thank the state superintendent, Dr. Salmon, and the governor for their ongoing support, not only of our state in general, but our schools and families in particular. I really do realize how challenging this time has been for our families, our students, and our staff, and I understand that the extension of this disruption causes significant anxiety in our school communities. Just watching the voices of young people on some of the social media, it is clear that this is a time to really recognize some of the challenges this presents, but schools are also the anchors of our communities. We bring together families, teachers, school leaders, and students to work for the success of our young people. And this is especially important during these uncertain times. I want to restate our commitment to ensuring that school communities remain intact and connected. The dedicated staff at city schools truly understands the importance of their role, our role in providing critical support to our school communities during this unprecedented time. We will be and continue reaching out to our students and families and finding new and creative ways to educate our students beyond the four walls of a classroom. We are instructing all city schools personnel whose duties do not require work on site to continue to work from home, while emphasizing the importance for all personnel to observe social distancing protocols to protect their health and the health of others. As we continue to provide services to students and families across Baltimore City, our staff will continue to focus on the most essential work, this being the preparation and delivering of learning opportunities, providing meals, making sure our buildings are clean and sanitized, communicating regular updates, and otherwise supporting students, families, educators, and staff as we navigate what is still very new terrain. Here is a summary of our actions to date and a timeline of our plans moving forward. As Andre noted, if there are questions after this for areas I haven't covered, more than happy to take questions. So with regards to emergency meal sites, in the first week of school closure, our school service, cafeteria workers, and volunteers served just about approximately 20,000 meals to students and families, operating from 18 emergency meal sites at strategically located schools across the city. I also want to thank Mayor Young, city agencies, and our various partners for their leadership in also providing meals during this spring break week. Our food service sites will reopen at those same 18 school sites next Monday through Friday between the hours of 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. Although I do have to note that our food service folks often arrive early and stay late to ensure that everyone who needs food receives at least 4 take-home meals. The list of those 18 locations is posted on our website. In order to avoid congregation and to comply with current social distancing regulations and guidance, meals will continue to be provided in the form of takeout or grab and go packages, and we will be adjusting our meal delivery model for outdoor distribution in the near future. The district continues to work closely with the Maryland Food Bank to provide a limited number of shelf-stable food boxes at meal sites, and with Baltimore City's Emergency Food Working Group to identify additional options for food access and distribution in the weeks to come. Another thank you really to all of our partners who have joined with us, and particularly our food service staff. With regards to academic support, thanks to the advanced planning and the hard work of our teachers and central office staff, last week we put instructional work packets for every grade level online and delivered more than 20,000 packets to students without electronic access. Students will continue with their work packets this coming week, March 30, as previously implemented. Work packets will contain adaptation for students with disabilities. We are putting in place distance-based learning methods to ensure each of our students has access to a standards-aligned learning experience. So, beginning March 30th, upon the return from spring break, teachers and principals will be engaging in professional learning and planning with their schools and supervisors, both virtually and independently, while they are also continuing to develop student work. So this will be, this coming week will be the opportunity for teachers to come up to speed, to give them a chance to get acclimated to this shift. And then on Monday, April 6th, students will continue to engage in learning based on their needs. But they will also be able to access daily reading and math lessons and some science on our educational access channels, such as Charm TV and our own Baltimore City Public Schools channel. They will also have access to those same lessons, recorded lessons online, in addition to many other resources. Teachers will engage students and families on a variety of different platforms, including the district-supported Google Classroom. Every Monday during the closure period, students will also be able to pick up accompanying and aligned work packets at the district's 18 meal sites. In addition to all of these activities, we are encouraging principals and teachers, particularly now that spring break is ending, to reach out to families and students who ask for assistance, as well as students who have not responded to any of the tools I just described. Finally, I want everyone to note that we will be launching a special parent hotline where families can call a number and get support on assignments, technical help with devices and navigating online, social supports in terms of connecting to city resources, and social emotional supports given what we know is a truly stressful time for many of our children and families. The parent hotline will be available no later than Monday, April 6th. Keep checking our website for information on the phone number and availability of this service. With regards to technology and meals survey, we realize, and we have continually said, that we know that there are a significant number of our families that lack adequate access to the internet or devices. Tomorrow, we are releasing an online family survey to identify students and families without adequate internet access and devices to benefit from online learning opportunities. Families who don't have internet access to complete the survey will be contacted by phone via parent link to ascertain both their access to technology and their need for food support. We will also collect information at food sites as a backup for families who don't respond to either the phone or online survey. I do want to talk a little bit about internet accessibility and devices. We have more than 15,000 district-owned Chromebooks, which are in our schools. Using our survey results and ongoing communication with our schools and families, we will be working to ensure this technology is appropriate for deployment and to distribute to families as needed. Some of these devices will require additional hardware, and we are working and have already placed orders for power cords and other things. I would like to emphasize to the public what I've said before, that we do not have enough Chromebooks for every student in city schools. So we are prioritizing for any of the central district purchased devices that we have on order, like many school systems across the state and country. We are prioritizing high school seniors and juniors for device distribution. We will continue to augment our device inventory with additional devices, again, with the prioritization of high school seniors and juniors, as well as other categories of our most vulnerable students, such as our homeless students and some of our students with disabilities. I also want to really highlight the work of our staff in not only investigating, but being ready to implement the use of smartphones, tablets, and other household devices to complete online learning activities. I want to note that
that would have been the day.
I also want to note that this is clearly not ideal, but our academics team is making all activities phone accessible. And this is also why we are committed to paper packets for families who do not have access to devices. We are exploring ideas with internet providers and partners who are really trying to work with us to think creatively about ways to support wireless access. For example, the Pratt Library System is thinking about renting vans to create additional mobile hotspots for families. We will provide more information about our partners and their support for wireless access in the coming days. I also want to note that we are collaborating closely with other
today. I want to say it was the 26th of February.
Excuse me. Please make sure you mute your devices. Thank you.
Thanks, Andre. We are also closely collaborating with K-12 school districts across our state and, frankly, the nation to share ideas, resources, and learning supports. And I am really, we are really working under a new paradigm for this time, which is really we're characterizing as being open for remote learning. And it's a challenge. It's a challenge for our students and our families. We are dramatically changing the way we deliver instruction in real time. And while we will do our best to help students adjust to those changes, we solicit everyone's support in doing that. And while the educational product is not everything we would like it to be yet, it will continue to evolve and improve in the weeks ahead. I want to thank everyone from families to community members who have submitted constructive feedback and suggestions. We are reading, and those are informing a lot of how we move forward. We have been asked, I think continually and correctly so, about the issues of grades, report cards, the impact of school closure on graduating seniors and students moving to the next grade, our career and technology paths. And what I want to say to everyone is that these are decisions that we are making in conjunction with our state partners. Superintendent Salmon is working very closely with me and my peer superintendents in LEAs across the state to make sure that we are considering options that are not only academically sound, but fair to our students. And let's just face it, the young people do not bear the responsibility for the situation in which we find ourselves now. So as a district, we are working on a range of options. We will be able to, we will in the coming days and early next week release more information about this, but I do want everyone to know that we are committed, as my colleagues across the state are, of really finding a way to support students in this way, but not penalize them for something that frankly was out of their control. I have received numerous emails and posts about senior activities, and as both a former high school senior and as a parent and as an educator, we are working very hard, and we recognize that senior activities like proms and graduations are really important milestones in a young person's life. And it would be heartbreaking if our young men and women and their families were deprived of this opportunity to celebrate their success. And while we will do everything we can to prevent such just a tragic outcome in terms of kind of life celebrations, it's frankly too early to tell what we will be able to do. But what I can assure our seniors and their families, that this predicament is never far from my mind or my heart, and my determination to do anything I can to find a solution, even if it has to be stretched out over an extended period of time. We will not, and I will not, let this go unmet, even though it might require some flexibility and creativity, and frankly, over a much longer time period than any of us would have imagined just weeks ago. As always, the best source of up-to-minute information is the district website. We've also established a COVID information hotline for families at 443-984-2000. Our parent, academic, and social emotional support hotlines will be available by Monday, April 6th. I also strongly encourage families who need food to visit the health update section of our website or go to mdfoodbank.org to find their nearest pantry location. If you have questions or concerns specific to students with disabilities, you may contact the Parent Response Unit at 443-984-1561, and we are working very closely with the state. Teachers will be working next week very closely to make sure that our students with disabilities, we are working for a more refined way to address some of their immediate learning needs. And then finally, if I may, I'd like to take a moment just to address our students and our young people. And I want you all to know that I realize that the events of the past several weeks have been confusing and frankly at times frightening. But I want you to know that we are doing everything we can to support you and your families, that I am confident that you will continue to demonstrate the strength and resilience and frankly brilliance that have always marked our young people and our Baltimore City students. Thank you for being who you are. I want you to know that this is a time that we welcome your feedback. Like I said, I've already received some from some of our students. And if all else fails, feel free to contact me at City School CEO at bcps.k12.md.us. And I will also direct you to the person or department who can best assist you. Stay strong, stay focused, stay healthy. And I want to thank all of the adults, the variety of teachers and counselors and central office team who have been reaching out to young people, even in the midst of what was supposed to be and to some extent is our spring break. I want to thank the Board of Commissioners their continued support. And I will now take questions for anything that I have not covered. Thank you.
Let's try it again. How's that now?
That's great, Tim. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah, I was just trying to see whether or not you said teachers will be trained on the technology starting on the 30th.
Yeah, we'll have professional development, and frankly, we have teachers that are very proficient already with technology, but we will be providing that professional learning opportunity to support teachers in using technology. But that time will also be used next week for principals to meet even virtually with their staff, for teachers to be able to plan some of the activities. We will be queuing them up centrally, but it will be both for technology and for academic planning.
Can I ask another one?
Yes, Tim.
Okay. You mentioned that there were some 15,000 Chromebooks in schools now, and that the priority will be to juniors and seniors. Have you worked out kind of when that might happen, or how the process will happen in terms of those persons applying?
Yes, that's a great question. I think we're still in the midst of some of those details, Tim. We just know that we're still waiting to see where our orders are going to be, number one. We have some local partners who are working with us about the possibility of getting quicker access to perhaps refurbished PowerBooks as well, just because those are local. We might be able to get some of those. And then, so perhaps in a week or two, but we, to be frank, at this point, are still looking at the supply pipeline and getting a keen sense, which is part of why we have the survey going out, like many school districts, frankly, are doing, to get a sense of where our families are, because we have some seniors who are already queued in and will be fine. And so we really want to prioritize those with needs. Does that make sense, Tim?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Sure. Does anybody have any other questions?
Yeah, this is Joy Lambert with Fox 45. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Joanne. How are you?
Hi, good. Has there been any discussion in extending the school year into the summer?
Great question. I would say, that's we're at the beginning of that. That's a state level question. And I will just say that my colleagues and I across the state, and it's one great thing about being in Maryland, is that, I have partners in thinking through that, but we're not close yet to being able to weigh in on that. But I will tell you, yes, it's come up, but we're not in any place yet to discuss definitively how we might use summer.
And then my other question is, do you know how many juniors and seniors there are in the school district?
Yeah, so we know we're at about, I think like about 4,000, a little over 4,000 seniors. I'd have to count juniors. But that's part of what we have been queuing up. As a matter of fact, the team's been working on really focusing on those students. So we're at anywhere from 45, probably in between that, like about 4,500. And so the relationship to the 15,000 PowerBooks, though, is that some of those PowerBooks are in elementary schools who might have already prioritized. So they're at different places in the district. And part of the inventory the team's been working tirelessly on is looking specifically. We have some high schools that made a serious investment in different kinds of devices that don't lend themselves, like Chromebooks do, to young people taking them home. So that's part of the work that we're doing now.
Hi, this is Liz Bowie. Can you hear me from the Baltimore Sun?
Hey, Liz. Sure, I can hear you.
I was just wondering, you made some reference to grading, and I was wondering if you've considered not giving grades for the fourth quarter, or having pass-fail.
Yeah, that has definitely been part of, and actually, again, the great part about the state superintendent communicating with us regularly is this is discussion across the state. And I can say that yes, we are discussing a variety of options that would be the least penalizing for young people, and the most supportive. So those are definitely things that are on the table and discussed. We haven't landed. I think we're still in a place where we're getting some of that, but internally, internal to Baltimore City, we have begun discussing options. Yes, that would include things like not just pass fail, but pass incomplete, because failure, as you know, if you're a homeless student and you don't have access to the same distance learning opportunity and you're just completing your work individually, the question could be, should you really receive a fail in a situation? So we've actually, even in a number of places, talked about, pass incomplete. So yeah, we've got a variety of options on the table that we've been discussing internally, and I think are similar conversations that are occurring across the state.
And it sounds like you're saying it'll be a statewide decision.
I don't know if it will be entirely statewide. I think that's up to Dr. Salmon and MSDE, but what I will say is that I feel very confident that my colleagues across the state are thinking similarly, and I won't speak for all of them, but we are really working to share information so that we can be aligned where it is possible, and that it is not just, clearly it's a Baltimore City discussion because we've queued up options internally, but we are not the only ones having those conversations. And I will say what should hearten the public in general is that I feel comfortable saying a number of my colleagues across the state are also concerned about equity and concerned about not penalizing young people for a health emergency.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
This is Avajoy with WJZ. Can you guys hear me?
Yes. Hi, Avajoy.
Hey there. How are you doing?
Doing fine, thanks.
Perfect. Thank you for taking this call. So here's the deal. You guys are doing a lot of things to ensure that you get all the parents and kind of figure out what their needs are, especially with the technology aspect. So if you're unable to get them via a survey or phone call or perhaps at the food distribution site, are there any other measures that you guys are taking to ensure that you get all of the parents who may have fallen through the cracks?
Absolutely, and it's a great question, Avajoy, and we continually talk about this. One of the things that we'll be beginning next week when principals meet with their teachers, and again, it's not to imply that there aren't some teachers doing this already, but we have talked about, just those regular phone calls. So some of the guidance we're giving to teachers about phone calls home. And one of the things that principals have been, I think, right to remind us of is that they and teachers have the intimate relationships, have the closer relationships with families. So we'll also be relying on the intel from the ground. So for example, if a teacher says, I have this student, I have been unable to reach them via phone, I've been unable, they don't have a device at home to log into Google Classroom, that will then be a flag for us that we need like a different level of intervention that might be, at this point, we even have some folks doing like home visits, and I don't mean, past the code, but yeah, we are very aware with our population that is absolutely something that has to be on our radar. The other piece that I would say, Avajoy, is one of the most heartening occurrences in this whole thing has been the number of our alternative ed students. So these are young people who just have not had success in our traditional high schools. And when I talk to Roger Shaw, who heads up our alternative school placements and our re-engagement center, when he tells of like homeless adolescents making sure they come by to get a packet, because that is a connection point for them. We really are going to be relying on those kinds of relationships and intel from the people on the ground who are closest to young people and who those young people trust. So no, yeah, it's a great question and one that I think is keeping a lot of us up at night.
This is Liz again, Liz Bowie at the Sun. I was just wondering if Sonia wanted to say anything to parents who are really worried about, is there any message for parents who are really worried about their kids not learning enough this year?
Yeah, no, Liz, it's a great question. And what I would say to parents and families is any of the connections that you are able to make. So if it is making sure that your child talks to you about a story that they read, if it is making them feel safe enough to maybe try a math problem or two or watch a Khan Academy video or two, the most important thing is that our young people feel the connections of people who care for them and are invested in them. That is number one. And I can say that both as a mom and as an educator. Number two, if you have to emphasize something, emphasize reading, and that's for all grade levels, and emphasize making sure that you have some exposure to math. One of my three just does not enjoy math in any shape or form. And so I know that that's our touch point. And I know that that's the place where I have to push in a little and say, hey, like, let's at least look at a little Khan Academy, or let's pull out your packet and do a couple of problems. I think that's important. And I think that this is an opportunity to explore your young people's strengths. And, now that school is officially back in session, please do not hesitate to reach out to our parent hotline for tips around academic supports. Don't hesitate to follow your children's interest if that is something that will help keep them engaged. But if at any point you're feeling lost and in a sea of I'm not sure where to go next, that's part of why we want to put the parent hotline out there. But give yourself some grace. And just, to the point that you know where your kids are, just keep them engaged in some of those fundamental activities. Clearly, routines are important, but routines are also really hard. And, I can say that in our house. I'd love to have my daily routine perfect every day, but it just isn't. So give yourself some grace, reach out where you need support, emphasize the basics, and that's, all the way through high school. We'll be posting support. So, the College Board, for example, launched yesterday advanced placement classes online, and our team is working now, to think about how do we connect more families to that, and how do we make up the gap for families that can't access that. So please reach out to us, give some feedback, and most importantly, let your children know that you are there for them and that they have a stable force in you. That would be the advice I would give.
Thank you.
All righty then. Well, Dr. Santelises, thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything that you want to share before we sign off?
No, I just want to say a big thank you. And, this is a time where the priority for all of us is making sure that our community, our families, and our young people are connected with information. And I just want to thank everybody on the call for being committed to that work. It is often unsung work, but these are the times where both myself and my colleagues rely on you all to get the word out. And I want to thank you all for your commitment to do that. So thank you for that.
Again, thank you, Dr. Santelises. Thank you, district team, for joining us. And thank you, members of the media. If you have questions for us as follow-ups, please reach out to Gwendolyn Chambers or Tabitha Lee or myself. In the meantime, have a great day. And it's a great day in city schools. Talk to you later.
Thanks, everybody.